Oh my God. Well, I've got the Thargoid hunters. Ah, yes, the Valoria. Okay, so let's clean my lenses. Just give me a moment. Ah. Look, you little bastard. Come here. Cat, that was not your summons. Bugger off! I'm not in the mood for kitty. Jesus Christ. Come here, you little bastard. Oh, God. You know what? Ow! I'll give you a nice little booklet. Oh, good. Now I can see the universe again. How wonderful. Okay. Let's just have a quick peek here at Find Loops. And why are we changing around? They switched the flip on us here. Well, according to this, they did switch the flip on us because, according to this, I don't know which system we're in. Hang on. Maybe we can answer that question pretty quickly here. No, we're in the Katuri system, which means we need indium. And then we're going somewhere. Let's have a quick peep. We're supposed to be going over here to the Hajo system, but it might not be the best system to go to anymore, according to them. Course plot complete. Okay. Either way, we purchased the indium because this is still the center. Okay. And
maximum capacity.
which also means that this is where the basic medicines get delivered to, is the Katuri system. So who really cares where the indium comes from? Indium goes out, or who purchases the indium? Unless the indium prices have radically changed, which I don't see happening. It's not usually how these things go. Okay, and one more thing we have to do is double check our outfitting. I find myself doing this all the bloody time now. So now we do have the scarabs, and we don't have the repair limpet. Okay, that's fine. We don't need the goddamn repair limpet anyway. We're not disappearing outside of the starbase range so far that we need to worry about repair limpets. Aha!
Docking coupler disengaged. Depart when ready, Commander.
Gale attracted.
Blocking the docking bay access corridor is not permitted. This star will not allow.
Okay. Do 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 do.
Active drive charging.
Okay, and now we're heading for dark. Oh, hang on. Wait a damn minute here. God, this is so slow. Scanning. Weapons fire threat 4. No. Darwin orbital, please. Lock the destination. Close the panel. Up with her speed to maximum. And that one's been missed.
Deploying the ship. SLF is online. Standing by. Target destroyed. Scanning for more hostiles.
scoop retracted. Scan detected.
Okay, Commander. Fighter is on the way back. Fighter retrieval sequence complete, Commander. We're clear to depart.
Frameshift drive charging.
Come and get me, come and get me, come and get me if you can. Holy shit. Paralegal. Sure, we'll take you.
Affirmative, Commander. Establishing fighter link. Fighter is prepped and ready to go, Commander.
Camera comply.
Friendly fire imminent, Commander. Target eliminated.
Cargo scoop deployed. Programming limit current.
Copy that. Plotting route for fighter recovery.
Detector limit expired. Cargo scoop retracted.
We've got the fighter back in the bay, Commander.
Frameshift drive charging. 4, 3, 2, 1. Engage. gear deployed.
Crashes is caused. Kill your speed, not your credit business.
Docking completed. Power down systems.
Loitering is a crime punishable by death. Make sure you have authorization before you enter the docking.
Well, what should we do now? I think
Blocking the docking bay access.
commodities. Sell the indium. No, still. Their supply is down, that's for sure.
Cargo hold at maximum capacity.
Be aware of oncoming traffic in the access corridor. Observe minimum clearance distance. Fly smart, fly safe. Reduce your speed inside the docking bay. Crash is caused. Kill your speed, not your credit.
Call unsuccessful.
Uh-huh. Hello there.
Hey, how you doing?
Pretty good. Yourself?
In the middle of a battle.
Oh, okay. Who are you fighting?
Scouts.
Oh, the Thargoid Scouts. Okay.
Yeah.
System you're in, is that where they are focusing most of their attacks right now, or?
No, I'm just on a mission that sent me here.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
The Eagle Eye program from Camden Research allows you to determine where the Thargoids are heading next, so you can repeat that fun mission over and over again. Except you'll only be fighting scouts, so you don't need the AX class weaponry or anything like that. I was just curious what you're up to. A lot of the other people, they seem to be on my friends list. They seem to be far away, but none of them are responding to prompts for communication. So I don't know what they're doing. But they're way out there. The nearest of them is 7,689.3 light years away.
Oh, wow.
In the Pirifoy sector, wherever the hell that is. And then Kaz Archer and Commander Jonas, both of those commanders are 19,989 and 21,865 light years away, respectively. So I don't know what's going on. I feel like I'm out of the loop, so I'd give you a call and see what you had to say.
Yeah, I've been following the Vanguard around for the last couple of weeks and just taking missions out of there.
The Vanguard?
Yes.
That is a mega ship?
Yeah, it's a mega ship. It basically just it gives you missions that send you to various locations where the Thargoids are, but it doesn't send you to the actual spot where they're going to attack next. It just sends you to surrounding systems.
Oh, I see. Okay.
You get paid for it, so.
Yeah. There's a bunch of mega ships. The Aegis Corporation has sponsored, and I don't know if this is one of them, but there's several mega ships that have been constructed specifically with that in mind. All they do is they go around and beat the crap out of the Thargoids, and right now that is the Federation's and the Empire's primary tool to defend the bubble, the core systems, from Thargoid incursion. They don't seem, their capital ships are not ready yet to deal with the onslaught of the Thargoids, and as every commander I've spoken to is basically fearful that the Thargoids are plotting something. This is not the real battle by any stretch. That in the very near future, as soon as atmospheric worlds get released, likely in, well, the phase 1 release of it happens with the next update. What will end up likely happening is you'll see Thargoids attacking planet-bound bases, cities on planet's surface, and doing a hell of a lot more damage. And the only way I can see them doing that, all the Cyclops, Medusa, and Basilisk class ships all have the capacity to go down to planet's surface. They've all demonstrated that ability. Something tells me that those base structures that we see on planet surfaces outside of the core systems, the Thargoid bases as they're called, are actually base ships that will launch off the planet's surface and then they're 4 kilometers across. So, the largest capital ship that we have is the Farragut class. And unless it's outfitted with the appropriate AX weaponry, it's not gonna be able to do much.
Yeah, I got the feeling too when I saw them, and people were driving into them and doing things like that. But I was like, they always look like giant ships that were under the ground.
Yeah.
You even see pictures of Thargoid, interceptors and things like that coming down and shooting beams into them. It was almost like it's feeding them.
Something's going on, yeah. I don't know what's going on, but this is not the real battle anyway. So there's a longer thread of storyline to this than what we've been told so far. And then there's all the other crap that you can investigate. You can investigate the derelict warships, the derelict generation ships, and the Formidine Rift ships. And ultimately, of course, you can look for Raxla, the world that is supposed to gate to wherever the Thargoids come from. Which I still think is which I now believe to be the Andromeda Galaxy based on the route that has been shown by Canon Research. And basically you can see it. If you look at the galaxy map, you can just look and see, well, it came from the outer rim of the Milky Way up through the Pleiades cluster and now are in the core systems. Well, if you look in the direction that they came from, there are two tiny little white galaxies off in the distance. One is Andromeda, with its satellite galaxy Messier 101, and the other one is Triangulum. Both are very, very, very far away. The Andromeda galaxy, closer to 2, is 1.2 million light years away, and Triangulum is 3.5 million light years away. So that gives you some idea as to like how far you'd have to jump. So they'd probably need a gate or some special tool of some sort, maybe a catapult or some sort of device that lets them transit that intergalactic void. But that's my best guess for now. Anyway.
Well, I always wondered if they were like from another dimension in our own galaxy, because if you look at the rifts that they come through when they appear, like the scouts, it always seems to be like something like from another dimension.
Well, you've seen, of course, what happens when the Farragut and the Majestic class arrive in battle, right? When they come.
No, I've only seen scouts.
Oh, okay. Well, when the Farragut and the Majestic class warships from the Federation and the Empire, respectively, when they come into a battle, they have much the same effect. They're large ships, so there's lightning and there's a cloud, and there's all kinds of crap that doesn't ordinarily accompany a smaller ship's jump special effects. These ships, they travel into normal space through a rift in space, so it looks somewhat interdimensional. But they do originate and end up in our dimension. I mean, in a way it is interdimensional, because hyperspace is actually, I think, dimension number 7 by convention. It's the same thing. It's the same phenomenon that's used to explain wormholes and other ways to cheat and get around from one place to another in the universe. But do they live there? I don't know. I don't think so. I mean, could you...
I've experimented with their little wormholes, like since I've fought so many scouts.
Yeah.
As they appear, I've tried shooting them before they come through, because I can lock onto them.
Okay.
But I can't hit them. I can't affect them. And I've also tried flying into it as well, but it doesn't. I just seem to go like through it to the other side. Just past it. I don't seem to go into it.
Right.
So until they actually come through it, there's nothing I can affect. But I've had a lot of chance to look at them, because I've fought probably about I'd say about 800 scouts so far. So I've had a lot of
crap.
a lot of work with them.
Yeah. Do you have Yeah, like I said, that there is an interdimensional quality to it, but it's more, more the effect. I don't know if they live in hyperspace, is what I'm trying to say, ultimately. I don't think that they do. I think that they probably do have a homeworld by convention. We have never seen a planet that exists, or any kind of world or environment where a species could, emerge or evolve in hyperspace. All we've seen of hyperspace is just what you see in hyperspace, a cloud, a bunch of stars, whizzing by, and that's about it. You're going from one place to another. And that's all that there is to hyperspace, really. And even the older versions of hyperspace technology, that was still very true. In Elite 2 Frontier, you had a different kind of hyperspace technology that got, of all things, deleted, because the company that had the patent on it apparently deleted at one point it was destroyed. The database that contained how to make hyperdrives was destroyed, so they had to quickly research and rebuild a new hyperdrive technology from scratch. And they were somehow successful, and that's the hyperdrive we're using today, and that was done in the 3200s. So, or the early 3300s. The old hyperdrive technology was in the 3200s. Anyway, this is all like ancient history now, but there used to be a cloud, and there used to be, different effects. And this is how the game's authors have explained what, now that you see a wake pattern instead of a cloud when a ship jumps away. Well, that has to do with the difference in hyperdrive technologies.
Well, I found it interesting. when I've jumped into hyperdrive, like a couple times, you know, if you're near a planet, you can't go through the planet. It won't let you aim through it.
No.
But if you're in a ring, you can go through rings.
Yeah, I've gone through. Well, no, I've actually. It's not true. I've gone through planets before, and the way I've gone through planets is you rise. You find a cliff face that is. You find a destination that's close to the horizon, and you have a cliff face that rises above it. But you go high enough so that you're no longer mass locked, but there's still a cliff face interdicting, obscuring the direct reference between you and the target. And if you can get that situation to happen, I've only ever had it happen once. I've jumped through like the landmass of a planet successfully. So it goes right through the planet. It doesn't give a damn. It literally takes you from one place to another, and I don't think it's. I mean, the only thing I know that stars are used. The gravity wells of stars are used to deactivate, to terminate a hyperspace link. That if once you open at one side, you open a hyperspace vortex. The only way you can come out back into the regular universe without being lost forever in witch space, as they used to call it. Because this used to happen, right? People they'd open up hyperdrive vortices, and then they'd enter them without having the correct coordinates established for the other side. And they just disappeared. They were gone. No one knows where the hell they are. As far as anyone knows, they're still in hyperspace, and they're probably trapped there. But without any food or water, eventually the resources will run out. They'll run out of air, they'll run out of fuel, and they'll just die, right? So this is why stars are used to terminate hyperdrive links. You need the accurate coordinates of a star in order to end a hyperdrive transit. And that's why ships appear next to large stars, because you have to use the gravity well of a large star in order to end the hyperspace trip. Could you end up in the middle of a sun? That's probably happened. Yes, you probably can.
Well, it seems like when I've jumped into dual systems that it almost looks like I've come through a sun.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've actually ended up in between stars, like, you know, very close to, you know, binary system where there's two stars and it's like they're separated by a few million kilometers. Well, it's not a comfortable place to be, because the instant you come out of hyperspace, your heat alarm starts going off. You're like, oh my god, you know, and you have to like quickly fly. You have to fly out of range before your ship burns up, which is not that hard to do, but it's a little bit of a shock when you just come out of hyperspace and suddenly there's like nothing but fire in every direction. And you have to quickly establish, you know, okay, well, where's the fastest way out of this? And then you have to go. But anyway, yeah, it's all very interesting, and this is all, like, of course, game lore from ancient history, starting with Elite 2 Frontier. Elite 1, I guess this is technically Elite 3 is what we're playing. But in Elite 1, there was no... I mean, hyperdrive was just hyperdrive. You just went from one planet to another. There was a star, yes, but each star had one planet. And that was the planet. You didn't land on planets. And planets were the thing that you could crash into if you weren't careful. And the objective was you had to, like, dock at the starbase successfully. Usually without the benefit of a docking computer. You could only be flying a Cobra Mark III. I mean, we've come a long way from 1984 and wireframe graphics games with one ship and, you know, a planet that's basically a circle on a screen. Which you can...
It's pretty cool. I like the way they've got the gravity all hooked up in this thing, and you're trying to use, you know, that as close to physics as they can get without being too unfun.
Yeah.
But, you know, I've been, like, practicing using gravitational braking, so I head straight at a star.
Yeah,
and even full speed, I don't slow down, and then I whip around the backside and use it to slow me down just in time to land at the base.
Yeah, I've done that myself as well, yeah. If the planet is close enough, you can actually use it to accelerate and then quickly decelerate towards a planet, and then, you know, nicely settle into orbit. But I've actually used dual planets when you have planets that are sharing orbits. Usually they go around a barycenter together. They don't usually chase each other in a single orbit, but they share an orbit around a star, and the target of where I want to land is on one of the planets, but somehow I've missed the base, like I overshoot. So I've done that before, where I've used the second planet to basically abort my overshoot and then slow down unnaturally quickly. And sure enough, it seems to work. So.
Oh yeah, I like having multiple planets and rings, because then I can enter like a system and use the outer one to slow down a little bit, and then whip around the last planet that the base is on to catch up the base that I want to get to.
Right, yeah. In Elite 2 Frontier, incidentally, they did have real physics, right? It was Newtonian physics. So what would happen was you would enter a system far away, and from an entry point, you'd have to basically navigate back. And I think, if memory serves, this one was in reverse. You couldn't go. The hyperspace drive technology that they used, they were so worried about like ending up near the sun, they made sure that you were at the outer edge of the star system. So you re-enter normal space at the outer end of a star system, and you come in, right, from the outer planets. And as you're coming in, you were coming in just using the equivalent of normal jump drive. You could pass time quickly because there wasn't a multiplayer environment. So you would pass time. But you'd see the date on a calendar roll by, as time was rolling by quickly. And if a fight was going to occur, you could actually miss the whole fight by vectoring yourself the wrong way. And you would just go careening right past where the battle was supposed to happen and completely miss the target because you were just traveling at an inappropriate vector too fast. And if you got into a fight, your engines could actually accelerate to a point where you were literally running circles around and around and around and around. And it was very difficult to control because it was like playing with... what's that?
Flight assist off.
Yeah, flight assist.
Flight assist on.
It's like having no flight assist, basically. It would be shut off all the time. And if you use your thrusters with flight assist off, you know what happens, right? You start careening around all over the place. It was exactly like that. So it was a very hard game to play, but then the firing arcs on your ships were also a lot more forgiving. So your weapons could be trained on a ship that would be, behind you, almost completely behind you. You wouldn't actually be able to shoot directly back unless you spun the ship around. But, which is what you can do in this game, actually. You turn the flight assist off. If someone's chasing you, you don't want them to chase you. You turn the flight assist off. You spin your ship around after thrusting up to speed, and then you let them have it, as they're chasing you. And usually, if it's an NPC, they'll back off. They don't want to get hit by reverse cannon fire. But
that's sort of the technique I used on the Thargoid scouts. Is I basically spiral backwards, and they just keep following me, and I just keep shooting them.
Yeah. You have to use flight assist smartly to basically avoid being, a target for NPC ships, be they alien or human in disposition. I don't know. I haven't used the flight assist tricks that I have in my inventory. I haven't really used them on human players when I've been attacked by human pirates. Those few times. A few months ago, being attacked by human pirates was a normal game activity. If you were on late, there would be it seemed like the Russians were always the ones that were ganging up in teams and just camping out stars, waiting for people to jump in. And then as soon as you jumped in, they'd switch the flip on you, and poof, you'd suddenly find yourself in a battle, for your very life. And there's 3 or 4 of them and 1 of you. Well, guess who's going to win? Especially when they're all humans and they're all pirates.
Yeah,
So.
Usually the only time I've actually had to fight humans is when I got jumped by 3 or 4, it was usually Anacondas or Federal Corvettes.
Yeah.
And I didn't even know it was coming, and they had me dead in 4 or 5 seconds before I could do anything.
That's
I've never had a fair fight with humans.
Yeah, well, you're not likely to anymore because now with notoriety, it's a huge disadvantage to be a pirate. You can become so notorious throughout the galaxy that no one will let you dock at a space station if you get too notorious. Well, that's kind of bad in a way because yes, you're notorious, but like if you have large ships, especially, this is true. You need to be able to dock at starports with large landing pads, right? And none of those terrorist carrier bases, the ones with the big eye patch on them, in the skull, the eye patch skull on them, are capable of docking large craft. And I have not seen terrorists actually own. The closest is the Anthill mob. Somehow they got control of a starbase in a system I was in recently. I don't know how the hell this happened, but they were the governing power. And of course, they're anarchists, so there was no law. They didn't care if you started shooting at people, at their base or whatever. They didn't send out police ships unless they were members of the Anthill mob. Then they did take issue with that, but otherwise, no, you pretty much allowed to shoot at whoever the hell you wanted to. They didn't care. So, I don't know. The only other place you might be able to go is onto a planet's surface, but you can't necessarily... those places are so far and few in between that with massive amounts of notoriety, you have to be worried about it. And I haven't seen any human pirates since the changes were made to the justice system. They seem to have dried up. No one wants to do it anymore because either it isn't lucrative enough or
No, it's not as fun anymore. I mean, I was doing some NPC piracy, doing piracy for low temperature diamonds for a while.
yeah.
And it was pretty lucrative, but it was only NPCs. But once they made the rule changes, that wasn't even fun anymore. So.
How would you know if they had these diamonds on board?
If you go to the right systems, if you know where to look, basically the only miners that were there were people with low temperature diamonds. So all you had to find was someone with a mining laser, and if they had a mining laser, they were carrying low temperature diamonds.
I guess you could always scan their cargo if you had the appropriate add-on, but
yeah, but that just takes longer and it takes up one of your slots, so you don't really need to do that to figure it out.
No.
Usually, if you go to an agriculture system in a anarchy system, anyone with a mining laser is carrying low temperature diamonds.
Yeah. I mean, in a way, notoriety makes sense. Like, it's good that there is a notoriety rating. I just don't think it's necessarily in a galactic scenario where there's going to be, trillions of human beings by this point, that necessarily anyone can be really all that famous or all that notorious. If you go far enough away, no one's going to have heard of you, right? So I can see in a certain sphere of space notoriety being relevant, but if I get too notorious as a pirate, I certainly want the option to stop being a pirate and go somewhere else in the galaxy and be able to, make an honest living again, if that's what I have to do in order to survive, because otherwise I'm fighting, fleets and fleets of police ships and everyone and their dog is coming after me. Even if you have a Corvette, you're still not going to be able to withstand the combined forces of, a system's powers once your bounty is too heavy. And they will send...
I've never been attacked by a pirate. I've only been attacked by griefers. The people that attacked me never wanted my cargo. All they wanted to do was destroy someone for the fun of it.
Yeah.
And that's different than piracy.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah. No, that's what these Russians I was referring to, and I should mention I'm not of the view that all Russians did this or something, but it wasn't like a national pastime for them. But there was certainly groups of people based in Russia that seemed like they were focused on primarily just griefing people, like just killing them off for the sake of doing so. Because I mean, I'd be coming into a system like with community goal or something, and I might have some cargo, granted. But whether or not they bothered to pick it up, I mean, when you're splitting the cargo of a Python up amongst 4 different people, that doesn't seem all that lucrative.
Well, the other thing is, if you destroy a ship, you don't get all their cargo. You only get a tiny bit of it.
Yeah.
If you can get them to give it to you, or you break their hatch, you can get a lot more.
Yeah. I have fought there's been a couple times, very early on, where I fought people and then surrendered. I typed into the text, I said, I surrender. I mean, I'm not going to win this fight. So I just powered the ship down, typed out, I surrender. And they said, well, surrender 2 units of cargo or something, some token amount, right?
Yeah.
And then they accepted it, and that was it. And I added them to my friends list after, because I thought it was kind of cool that they did this, and that this was something that they looked after, that they would do. Of course, they said normally people don't do that. They don't normally surrender, but I can tell when a battle has gone against me and I'm not going to win anymore, where I can't run away, that there's no escape, and where I'm just outgunned or outplayed even. Although at this stage of the game, I've got a lot more combat experience, and I don't think I'm going to be so easily outplayed anymore. Odds are you're going to have to kill me, because I know enough tricks in the book now. It'll probably take my entire ship's lifespan in order to find out who's really going to be victorious.
I haven't actually encountered any real pilots. Like I said, most of mine were gangs of griefers.
Yeah.
And most of the time, if I ran into real pirates, I wouldn't care much, because first of all, I know how to handle myself against someone that's going to come at me straight like that.
Yeah.
It's only the surprise griefers that cause me trouble.
Yeah.
So I've never been too worried about real pirates.
Well, the thing was, these Russians, I learned from the community goal guarding that they were doing. One of the things that I did was, that what proved to be very effective, was actually turn my ship around and go around the opposite side of the star. Like, I didn't try to run into the system right away. That was my initial gut reaction, and invariably it ended up getting me killed. So instead, I started trying to use the stars themselves as obstacles that they'd have to try to circumnavigate to get a hold of me. And that proved to be very effective, because they couldn't organize themselves, right? There's 4 of them, but they're all separate, and they're not all together, and they don't know exactly what the hell's going on, and they have to all be close enough to one another in order to jump in and participate in the battle. They can't do that either if they don't know where the battle's being fought. So I'd go around behind the star, opposite where they were at the beginning, and then I'd take off, either straight, I'd go either perpendicular to the zenith of the system, to the plane of the star system. So I'd go up or down, whichever one seemed like good at the time. It doesn't really matter in space anyway. There is no up or down. But I just picked a direction and went that way, perpendicular to the plane of the solar system. And that took me out into, the middle of nowhere. And no one seemed interested in following me out there for some reason. By the time they finally got reorganized and back together again, where they could execute a chase, it was either too far away from the stars, or there was too much chance that I was going to lead them just on into this black void forever. I guess they were worried that they'd be too far removed from the system and they'd miss other opportunities. They were camping the star after all, so they wanted to kill people next to it, not millions and millions of kilometers away.
Yeah, they were looking for easier pickings.
Yeah. So, and then of course I'd come back down. I'd go in the direction of the community goal location, the starport usually. And then just, sail back down in from up or down, whichever way I had gone. and of course they would not be there. They would be back at the central star. So I could just at that point dump my stuff off, get credit for participating, which is all I really wanted to do as a community goal. I'm not going to finish in the top 25% normally. I've only ever been able to do that once. I've never
even tried a community goal yet.
Oh, really?
I've always pretty much kept to myself and just worked on missions and just my own thing. This Sargoid thing was the first thing I've actually done that's been like any kind of group effort.
You are aware of the history behind the Sargoids and why they're attacking humanity, right?
Vaguely, I know they have something to do with the Guardians, but I'm not very into the Guardian history either, so I've never really paid much attention.
No, the origins of the war with the humans, between the humans and the Sargoids, has nothing to do with the Guardians. The Guardians themselves were at war with the Sargoids, possibly because they invented an AI technology that was used to help defend the Guardians against the Sargoids, and then the AI decided that the Guardians were actually the offending species, so the AI turned on them and eradicated them, and then the Sargoids came and eradicated the AI, basically. But that's one theory, anyway. But the reason that the Sargoids are attacking humanity is because about 150 years ago, in game time, the Federation and the Empire were involved in, at the time, what was known as the First Sargoid War. Again, this is during the time of Elite 2 Frontier, mid to late 3200s. And they had come in and decided at some point that there was going to have to be an end to the Sargoid threat once and for all, and the way to do this was to create a pathogen that would infect the Sargoids and would retransmit from one Sargoid to the other and eradicate their technology. So they got a Commander Jameson to go, who is the grandfather of one of the engineers in the game, to go out and kill the Sargoids. And he was promised, when you get your ship back, just come back and everything will be fine. Well, at first he was sort of horrified at what he was told was going to happen, was their technology was going to be affected. The Sargoids themselves wouldn't die, but then he witnessed thousands and thousands of Sargoids being, starting to die off. And he was appalled. And then his ship suddenly shut down while it was en route back to the core systems, and it shut down conveniently near a planet's surface, so he basically crash landed on the planet. His ship was discovered recently in 3303, I think, and which is last year, and this is what started the whole anti-INRA scam that you read about in Galnet now, with respect to a terrorist group that is now starting to kill off the descendants of people who were part of the Interstellar Navy Reserve Arm, which was an organization founded to stop the Sargoids back in the 3200s. And what ended up happening there, so what basically, long and the short of it, is that the Sargoids are attacking humanity to retaliate for an attempt to genocide their species, done by humanity in secret. Most of humanity isn't aware of this, of course, but the evidence is starting to come out. In 3302, or was it 3303? I think early in 3303, we also had another incident. Senator Salome of the Empire came forward and started leveling accusations at the imperial government, which they were not favorable to the public hearing. So they sent a fleet of ships, which a lot of commanders participated in, to hunt Salome down and kill her, to silence her, and she was eventually killed. In fact, I was kind of startled at how many commanders, without any clue as to why the Empire was doing this and why the PR campaign had been launched, but there were a few commanders who defended Salome, but they were just simply outnumbered. And Salome ended up paying the ultimate price. There was an old lady named Rebecca who came back from the Formidine Rift with evidence. There's a ship out there that has to be inspected forensically. We know the location of it. It's documented. Where one of the ships, basically the crew went nuts after releasing a bunch of probes and devices into the Formidine Rift, which is one of the places where the Thargoids are thought to have, to be passing through. Coincidentally, it's towards the Andromeda Galaxy again. But the long and the short of it is there is evidence, and now there are murders associated with an organization that is 150 years old, which tried to eradicate the Thargoids completely by genociding the species. So the Thargoids are here primarily to exact retribution and to discourage organizations within human space, such as Aegis Corporation, whose bases that were targeted in the Pleiades sector originally within the last 6 months. They are also laying in a course directly for the solar system and Achenar, where the Empire has its capital conversion in the world called Capital, where the Imperial Palace is located. And if they get there, well, like I said, big problems. And this is happening soon. Like, a lot of these probes that you're destroying do show that there's a certain amount of resistance. There's less. The Thargoids will have less intelligence gathered about the fighting capacity of the Federation and the Empire. So it's effective that way, but it's only one part of a much, much bigger campaign. So originally, when the Thargoids invaded, I just had sort of resolved not to oppose them. And any time a Thargoid ship interdicted me, I just didn't engage it, and would let it do its scan and go about its merry way. I didn't fight them at all, and I wasn't going to. What changed my mind was actually recently when they started threatening Earth-Mars conversion and capital. Then now I'm a little bit more concerned. I don't. Regardless of how humanity's governments may have misbehaved, I don't think the species deserves to lose its homeworld. Any of its homeworlds. So I'm now fighting the Thargoids, but I'm not very happy about it. And I'm certainly not very happy with the Federation or the Empire for starting this. There's been a conspiracy going on the whole time. And we still don't have all the answers out of the Formidine Rift and blah, 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 blah. I could go on for like a long time about this. But if you're going to fight the Thargoids, just understand they do have a grievance. And it is a justifiable grievance.
Well, I've visited a bunch of ships that they've shot up. Everything from prison ships to agricultural ships to...
Yep. Each target so far has had a reason, except now that it looks like they're becoming a bit more indiscriminate. One explanation is there's possibly 2 Thargoid factions that are involved in the campaign. And the factions don't like each other, they don't fight the same way, but they may have both decided to invade human space and are going about things a little differently. But there is one faction, at least, that is selectively targeting itself, but this other faction is more militant and could be more of a threat. It could be the one that's actually headed towards Sol. I don't know. Like I said, I don't know what the Federation has in its arsenal to deal with the Thargoids if they come into Earth. There is a Farragut class warship that is sitting in Earth orbit. There is another one at Mars. Over the presidential estate. It's there to guard the president, but I don't think those ships have the experimental equipment necessary to fight Thargoid battle groups. So most likely President Hudson has got himself an escape plan and nicely put together already in case the Thargoids show up in the solar system, demanding revenge. But I mean, there's also 40 billion people living in the solar system at this point, all of whom will be at risk if the Thargoids show up. And I can't have that. So I will fight the Thargoids now, but I'm not happy about it.
I guess I just see myself as a mercenary in that case. They pay me to fight them, and I fight them. So
Yeah.
I haven't got into the history. They pay me, and they give me higher rank, and so I go off and do my part.
Yeah, which is perfectly fine as long as you understand the history. It's just because Salome, like I said, Salome, a lot of commanders went into that without knowing what the hell they were doing. This is my little bit of trying to make sure that everyone understands, okay, here's what the Thargoids are here for. Here's why,
Well, I guess, like, I've seen, like, science vessels destroyed by them. I've seen agricultural stations destroyed by them.
Sure,
and
yeah.
If they were coming for revenge or because they didn't want to spread, that would be one thing. But what's the point of destroying a prison ship? I mean, those people are being punished as it is. Why would you come and shoot it up? It just didn't make sense.
I don't know. I've seen prison ships, as well. I've seen prison ships destroyed, but they were in systems governed by the Aegis Corporation, or where the Aegis Corporation had maintained a large presence. And Aegis is a primary Thargoid target, because it's basically it's considered by them at least the successor organization to the INRA. It also has a lot of the scientific background Palins involved with them, and these researching weapons that will prove effective against Thargoid ships. And the whole AX weapons program is basically Palin's brainchild. So they don't like him or Aegis Corporation very much, because it made it a lot more dangerous to deal with the humans. But in the end, they still outnumber us by 50 to 1 at least, and that's just from what we can see in the Milky Way galaxy. And on top of that, they were able to destroy the Guardians, who were more technologically advanced than humanity is right now, in the year 3,400 something. So, what are the odds of us holding out against again? I mean, the Guardians likely extended they likely had a multi-colony occupancy of space similar to what the core systems are, if not even more broad. And right now, if we also look at humanity's own history with the Empire, during the Empire's founding, I mean, Akinar, the world capital, now called capital, used to be home to the Akinari. The Akinari went extinct shortly after the Empire was founded. Why? Well, because basically the humans that moved there wanted the planet, and so they made it good for human life. Suitable for human life. They didn't give a shit about the Akinari, and they wiped them out of existence. So there is a history of genocide here, and the Thargoids could be looking at that too. Although that is the Empire, that's not the whole species. It's not even all the governments of humanity. The Federation, in fact, launched its initial attacks on the Empire as a direct result of the extinction of the Akinari. That triggered a war between the Federation and the Empire. So, got to take that into account as well. But anyway, I don't know to what extent the Thargoids understand us. We certainly don't understand them. We don't have any information about their language. No one can seem to communicate with them. We've intercepted some interesting probe data that has, been deciphered and decoded and has yielded useful intelligence. But in terms of, conversational discourse or diplomacy, nothing like that has been successful so far, and it's not likely to be. Although it may be the only way to get out of this war with humanity intact, because I don't think in the end humanity can survive. As I understand the technologies involved right now, I don't think humanity really has much of a chance if we just have to sit here and fight the Thargoids piecemeal like this. certainly having a few ships, having a few commanders roam the galaxy in mercenary mega ships is not the solution to the problem. And it is not going to stop the Thargoids or even do much to slow them down, although it has slowed them down somewhat lately. But
well, I mean, we've had instances where we've been able to stop them from attacking certain systems.
yes, absolutely. But there was a lot of help from other commanders too. I wasn't aboard the Vanguard, but I actually did participate 2 weeks ago in helping stop the Thargoid incursion into one of the LP systems. I can't remember the name of which number it was, but
yeah, I've been working my way towards 1,000. I'm getting pretty close now, so I mean, I've been doing quite a bit getting rid of scouts.
yeah, no, I wiped out in one night. I think I wiped out like 35 or 40 of them, but
see,
I'm not primarily. I haven't been focusing on the Thargoids too much. I've been focusing more on the Guardians and discoveries there. The time I've spent doing exploration has been Guardian focused. The one thing I didn't like was discovering that, oh gee, now that you've participated in discovering all the Guardian sites and exploring them thoroughly, here, we'll give you a Guardian shard cannon if you can return 150 bloody blueprints back to some trader in the core systems. So not only do I have to travel back to the core systems to get this stupid thing, I have to perform a magic ritual at one of the Guardian sites. I have to do that 150 times in order to get, well, no, I have to do it like 20 times, I think, in order to get the requisite number of blueprints, plus a bunch of other crap that I have to somehow assemble together. And then I'm allowed to get one shard cannon. It just doesn't seem equitable. They're gonna make it easier to get the shard cannon as well as some of the other weapons in the next release of Elite.
yeah, I haven't had any interest in going to those Guardian sites because I've heard of all the people complaining about what a pain in the butt it is to do the same thing over and over and over again.
Yeah, it's a grind. It's a horrible grind. But hopefully, like I said, the lack of participation will drive Frontier to rethink about how much it's asking of its players. There's an element in Frontier that just seems to greatly delight in trying to make people do repetitive things over and over again. I don't know why. You know, they just seem to like just love. Let's really piss them off. Let's get them to do this like 20 times in a row before they're allowed to even see a shard cannon. Okay, whatever. The only advantage that the Guardian weapons give you right now, in terms of their attack potential, they're quite good, but their real advantage is that you can use them on both humans and Thargoids indiscriminately, like interchangeably. There's no refitting them or anything of that sort. So that is an advantage. Otherwise, you have to retrofit to fight a Basilisk class ship. You'd have to like get all the AX weapons together. And I do have a locker, that is fully indexed full of weapons when I need to go Thargoid, fight Thargoids. I'm quite capable of doing it, and I have all the pieces that I need to do it with. But, I don't do it that often, and I certainly don't leave my ship in the state where it's ready to fight only Thargoids, because humans have been a problem as well. And certainly human ships have been a problem, and the anti-Thargoid weapons do nothing to the humans. So count your blessings that they're using probe technology that is susceptible to human weapons, because if you had to use your AX weapons, you'd be vulnerable to human pirates and anything else that comes out of the woodwork to try to kill you. That originates from human hands. At any rate. Well, I just wanted to see what you're up to. I should get back to this. I have to discover and see if my basic medicines... I'm treating a plague here. I'm getting 3 million credits for doing this loop over and over again. As much as I hate grinds, I'm also buying an Anaconda imminently. I have 120 million credits, and I want to see if I can get that up a little further. When I can, when I have enough money plus 10 million credits, I'm going to go buy an Anaconda, have the frame ready, sitting at a starbase somewhere, and I'll gradually equip it. I won't necessarily use it right away, but I will start equipping it because I don't really want... And I'll transfer, you know, any of my existing components from any of the other ships in my fleet where it's suitable and appropriate to the Anaconda, because I do want to start using it as a main fighter trader ship. But right now I'm using the Type 9 heavy freighter. It's got, you know, volume cargo. I can carry over well, almost 600 units of cargo on this thing. The only ship that can take more that I've heard of recently is the Imperial Cutter, and I hear that thing can take 700 units, 700 metric tons, if it's appropriately outfitted. But it has a few Class 8 slots in its internal options subheading, so it makes it possible to get cargo canisters that carry 256 or 512 tons of cargo a piece. And the Type 9, I think the maximum allowed is up to Class 7, so it's a bit of a disadvantage. Although I do have 2 Class 7 slots, and I have equipped them both with cargo racks, and that gives me, you know, 256 times 2 right off the bat.
Yeah.
But
currently, my Type 9 is outfitted for mining. It's mostly set up to head into rings and mine stuff, but I haven't used it in a while, so I've basically left it at the base.
Yeah. Well, once I have enough money together here and I'm about ready to commit to some fighting, I do periodically take an interest in Thargoid activity, and I do want to stop them from further encroachment. So, mind if I give you a call a bit later and see what you're up to again? And if you're still fighting Thargoids, I'll perhaps start moving my ship that way to join you.
All right.
All right. Well, take care for now. Thanks again.
All right. Talk to you later. Bye.
Talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Be aware of oncoming traffic in the access corridor. Observe minimum clearance distance.
Darwin Orbital. We are in... Yes. And we have to go to the Katuri system. Route plot complete.
Docking coupler disengaged. Regulate speed until clear of exclusion.
View attracted.
Caution. Heavy traffic ahead.
Oh!
Exit before landing. Access granted. Proceed to landing pad 25.
Scan detected.
Decrease your speed immediately. Assisted docking initiated.
Scan detected.
Stay on current course, Commander. Docking bay is prepped.
Landing gear deployed.
Mind your speed and your surroundings. Avoid collisions at all costs.
Docking completed. Disembark when ready. You've probably heard rumors of contagion and outbreak, Commander. I wouldn't pay too much attention to rebel propaganda if I were you.
Pilots, do not block the access corridor at any time.
Cargo hold at maximum capacity.
Well, we have to do something about that. Let's see if I can. One moment.
The access corridor is designated a no-stop zone. Blockages will be removed using lethal force. For your convenience and safety, pacification emplacements
Yorwa Blackwell Hub. Calamar. And Andreas Ring.
crashes cost. Kill your speed, not your credit balance.
improvised components. Okay.
Be aware of oncoming traffic in the access corridor.
Military supercapacitors. This will be for the distributor. Military supercapacitors.
Blocking bay access is a crime. Don't risk annihilation. Make way for other.
Okay. Engines.
Do you have authorization to be inside
All
the docking bay?
components.
Remember, loitering is a violation.
And pharmaceutical isolators.
Unsanctioned acts of aggression will not be tolerated. Obey station law and enjoy your stay.
Shield generators.
Pilots, do not block the access corridor at any time.
Improvised components. Okay, and that will be it.
Loitering is a crime punishable by death. Make sure you have authorization before you enter the docking bay.
Pad detached complete. Depart when ready, Commander.
detected. Landing gear deployed.
This station operates under a docking reservation policy. Ensure you have authorization to board terminals.
Landing completed. Ground crew have been dispatched.
Bordering is a confidential license. Make sure you have authorization before you enter the dock.
Cargo hold at maximum capacity.
For your convenience and safety, pacification links are active and tracking at this station.
That's interesting. It almost sounds like gunfire outside. But this is Canada and gunfire is impossible, so... And now they've made me miss my shot. I can't have a real ship with a real laser and scare them off.
Docking completed. Disembark when ready. You've probably heard rumors of contagion and outbreak, Commander. I wouldn't pay too much attention to rebel propaganda if I were you.
Now, as this is the final run, at this point we are going to have a look at other locations to pick up our stuff, but instead of buying the indium right now, instead what we're going to do is go have a look at the, what system is it? The Calamar system.
Mind your speed and your surroundings. Avoid collisions at all costs. The docking bay. Remember, loitering is a violation.
Cal Umar. And in particular, there's really only one base we could be going to, I think. Andreas Ring, which is right there. Of course, laid in. Eight limpets is sufficient. I don't know why we have this here, so we will take it off.
Avoid unnecessary destruction. Do not block the access corridor.
Yeah.
Fly smart. Fly safe. Reduce your speed inside the docking bay.
Oy, oy, oy. What a pain in the ass that was. These ships that keep coming through, you never really know until it's way too late. Whatever. I guess I have to come back here technically.
Frameshift drive charging.
Establishing fighter link.
Scan detected.
Link established. Awaiting instructions.
Scan detected. Under attack. Frameshift offline.
Target destroyed. Scanning for more hostiles.
Scan detected.
We're go for automated retrieval, Commander. We're all set, Commander. Fighter secured.
Cargo scoop retracted. Frameshift drive charging. Scan detected.
Maintain current heading until further instruction.
Landing gear deployed.
Be aware of automatic traffic in the access point. Observe minimum
Okay, we have here a whole crapload of... Okay. Military super capacitors.
For your convenience and safety, pacification emplacements are active and tracking at this station.
What we need... configurable components and pharmaceutical isolators.
Welcome to our station.
Okay.
This station operates under a docking reservation policy. Ensure you have authorization before attempting to disembark. Blocking bay access is a crime. Don't risk annihilation. Make way.
Okay. Now, the next item on the list is the pharmaceutical isolators. And this I'm not looking forward to. Oh my god, we can take... and get two of them just like that. Excellent.
Checked your lane number. Check again.
Excellent.
May trigger a lethal response.
Improvised components. Only buy one, and it will take all 6 of our core dynamics components.
Always proceed directly to your allotted bay to avoid unnecessary delays and/or ship destruction.
Okay. Military supercapacitors. Nope.
Operates a zero-tolerance policy towards criminal infractions. Obey station law.
Don't got one of those. Now we need selenium. We can fix that in short order. Improvised components. Going to need several more of those.
station operates a zero-tolerance policy towards criminal infractions. Obey station law.
Well, I didn't give up too much for it, but... Well, we have to pick a destination, so, we'll pick the Hajo system once again. No, they don't sell indium. Ooh, but they do sell basic medicines. In that case, we will change our destination to the Katauri system.
Ship restraints retracted. Access corridor is clear.
Always proceed to
Landing gear retracted.
to avoid unnecessary delays and/or ship destruction.
Frameshift drive charging.
And we're going to have to go hunting for these components in the appropriate debris fields. At least I know I'm in the right place. Oh, let's see here.
detected.
We'll quite probably be leaving, ending session after this. So, let me advise you once again to click on the subscribe or like buttons if you liked what you saw, and of course the bell icon next to the subscribe button. The YouTube main interface will let you know, keep you advised through the Chrome browser when I am posting another video or going live. Please also click more in the properties section to get access to web-based information about Commander Trium, news, views, and so forth, both on Twitter and WordPress, where I maintain a blog.
Incoming message.
Last. Still a bit of work to do here in order to drive up our but of course this isn't the best place, but anyway. That'll be it for this session. Thanks once again for watching. It's 3:40:38 Zulu on 21 May 3304 in Bogdanov City. And that is in the Katuri system. This is Commander Trium, thanking you once again so much for watching and signing off for now. Tomorrow is Victoria Day in Canada. That's a national holiday here, so there will likely be some additional videos published tomorrow. See you then. Bye for now.